What's going on, man?
What's going on? Just over here in my hotel room. Just got done with
Nice,
a workout.
nice. Okay, guys. So we got Martin Day here, UFC fighter from Hawaii. I haven't really met you in real life. We have kind of mutual friends. I used to train a little bit. So I did a lot of wrestling. I did college wrestling, right? So I came back and I,
Yeah.
I used to wrestle with Russell Doan a little bit and train with a few guys like Chaz Dunauer, some of these guys on your team.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I can tell your ear.
yeah. Mostly, I mean, it's mostly from wrestling. I'll be honest. I trained MMA just for like a short time, but yeah, man. So, I guess I just want to interview you because I wanted everybody, especially a lot of these local Hawaii guys, to share their stories because a lot of people are out there sitting at home and they're like, I want to live my dreams. I want to achieve something in life. I want to be worth more, but maybe they don't know how to start, or maybe they need some sort of like a push, some sort of inspiration from people like us, from Hawaii, especially. So maybe you could start with sharing your story, sharing why and how you got into MMA, and then we'll just go from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where do I start? Well, I guess I'll start from the bottom. I'm come from a big family. I'm one of 9 kids. We got I'm number 7 out of 9. So I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters. There's 5 boys, 4 girls total. Um, and yeah, we grew up all over the place, really, but mostly in Hawaii. I was actually born in Japan. Most of my older siblings were born in the Philippines. They were, I don't know if you want me to start with this, bro, or like
Yeah,
this
yeah, go
training or
ahead.
what?
Go,
Yeah,
go for it,
yeah.
bro.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of them were born in the Philippines because my dad was over there. He was a missionary, and he had met my mom, who's Filipino. And so yeah, they ended up meeting down there, getting married, having a bunch of the top half of the siblings over there. Did some more missionary work there and in Japan, which is why I was born in Japan. And a lot of people just assume that I was military or something, or that I'm Japanese, but yeah, not Japanese, not military. And then yeah, then we came to Hawaii. I only lived in Japan for about 6 months after I was born. I've lived in Hawaii ever since.
Okay.
So I was pretty much raised here since I was a tiny baby. And yeah, we when we first moved here, there was 7 of us. I was the youngest, and then shortly after moving here, my younger brother was born. And when during that time, we moved to Oahu, where we lived on the beach in Keau Beach Park on the west side, pretty much Waianae,
Okay.
Nanakuli area. And there was just like, I mean, we just didn't have really any money, yeah, and there was a lot of us, so it's hard to find a house and whatnot, and so we were just kind of living out of our van and tent and stuff like that. um and then my dad ran into his friend that he knew, and he's on Kauai, and so we ended up all going over there. We are living in pretty much the same situation, but now we had an actual house, I guess you could call it a house. It was like a really like a 1 bedroom, kind of like a shack. So we just still spend a lot of time outside in the tents and stuff. And then we came to the Big Island. The Big Island, we were finally able to get a piece of property, but no house yet. So had a piece of property in tents. A lot of people do that in the Big Island, actually. And so I know what it's like to grow up without like a lot of stuff. You know, definitely no iPads and stuff like that, like a lot of kids have nowadays. Just the great outdoors, I guess. And so yeah, we had, like, for example, no electricity, no running water, no house. Eventually my dad and my older brothers actually built a house. It was a 2 bedroom, and by that time there was 9 of us, so all the boys still slept outside and the girls had one room, my parents had another room, but it was cool having a house. um yeah, and then we moved to Oahu when I was about 11 years old. And my dad is actually from Hawaii, not originally, but he lived in Hawaii since he was about 4 or 5 years old. He graduated from Kailua High School,
Oh, wow.
and so yeah, we moved to the windward side of Oahu, and grew up there. I call Kailua home,
Okay.
and yeah, I've been on the windward side of Oahu ever since. And ever since I was in the Big Island, I just, for as long as I can remember, I was interested in martial arts and just fascinated with it. My neighbor, which we lived in like the Puna area, so everything is really spread apart. But he was the closest kid that lived to me. he would go to karate class, and when he would come home, we would go play and stuff, and he would teach me his moves. And so I was always interested in it. One day I was at I forget where, I think it was KL Park, and it was inside of a gym or something, and had like a local karate class or some kind of martial arts class practicing, and I was just like super fascinated with it, and I wanted to join. But at that time we didn't really have any money or transportation or anything. um I also didn't mention that my mom homeschooled all nine of us, so my
Mm,
mom's homeschooling all of us and my dad's working. um Later on in life, I was the first person to graduate, first in my family to go to high school, because my mom, she had breast cancer, so
mm,
she couldn't homeschool the youngest three anymore. She's okay now. Anyway, so when we moved here to well, not here, but when we moved to Oahu, I started training in Taekwondo. We found a local martial arts school. Sam Bishaw was the owner, still is the owner, and yeah, so I started doing that. We did the trial lesson and stuff, but still couldn't really afford it. So at that time, what we worked out a little deal after I did a little trial program, that I would ride my bike to, it was about a 30-minute bike ride, and I would ride to the dojang. But dojang is just Korean for a training place,
okay.
and I would clean all the mats and windows and whatnot, and for half of my tuition, and then one of my older sisters who was working, she paid the other half. Eventually, I got to where I could teach and stuff, and help and give back, and that would take care of my tuition. But yeah, I would ride 30 minutes twice a day back and forth to taekwondo class, and I also started boxing too shortly after with a local boxing coach that was over there. But yeah, so that's how I kind of got started training. And then I shortly after starting in taekwondo, I started doing tournaments, competitions. Not only taekwondo competitions, but also just martial arts and general competitions. Like we go to karate tournaments, and a lot of them were more like kickboxing style, really. And I always excelled in more of the kickboxing style ones. I did quite a bit of amateur kickboxing fights, and then after doing kickboxing for a while, I actually have a really good amateur kickboxing record. Um, uh, After doing that for a while, I wanted to start doing MMA, and so yeah, I trained for a while for my first MMA fight, and I went 3-0 as a amateur in MMA, all finishes, 3-0, all knockouts, and yeah, I never went into the third round in a amateur MMA fight. And then yeah, by the time I had my second MMA fight, I had started training at Gracie Techniques and Hawaii Elite MMA, which were all together at that point in time. And yeah, I'm still with those two places, where I'm still going strong and everything. But yeah, so after three amateur MMA fights, I went pro. Um, had a good pro MMA record for a while until my little losing streak I've been on lately. But yeah, that kind of leads me to where I am today,
Yeah.
taking this last minute fight over here in Vegas. I found out about this on Friday, and here we are, about 6 days later,
Yep.
about to start cutting weight.
Nice, man. So I know, let's take it back a little bit. I know you said you had a pretty good amateur like kickboxing or taekwondo record, something. What age were you when you started to actually compete in taekwondo and karate, those tournaments?
Well, I started in 2002
Okay.
in Taekwondo.
Okay.
February February like 21st or something like that. 2002 was
Mhm.
my first day, and I competed a few months later already. And then I remember my first competition. I didn't know what I was getting into,
Mhm.
and then in Taekwondo we would spar with a hogu, like a big chest pad.
Yeah.
But this first tournament I went in was more of like a karate tournament,
Okay.
and then so I was like, oh, I can take this off. So we, took it off, and then like I had no idea what I was getting into, and I fought against this bigger kid, and like he kicked me in the body and like knocked the wind out of me. Anyway, I ended up losing that one.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, then I kept on competing. It would get to a point where I would be like, I was competing so much that I would just show up alone with
Mhm.
like nobody there. So no teammates, no coaches, no nothing, and I would just show up and compete. A lot of times I didn't even tell people I was gonna go compete. I would just hear about a tournament and just go to it.
Oh, nice.
And sometimes I wouldn't make people wouldn't be too happy about that, but I would always go. And sometimes, like, if my parents weren't there to sign, I would just forge a signature and just and just go ahead and compete in the fights anyway. But yeah, I guess a lot of those were like kickboxing rules,
Hmm.
but on mats. So as far as like in the ring kickboxing, amateur kickboxing, I believe I'm 9-0-1
Hmm.
in the ring, and only one of those have I went to decision.
Hmm.
So those are all finishes, and then I
Amateur
actually have a
amateur kickboxing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I have three professional kickboxing fights, and
Mm.
those were all knockouts.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and yeah, so striking is definitely my background, and
Okay.
with the taekwondo mixed with the boxing
Mhm.
is a good complement to each other.
Yeah. Nice, man. So, in high school, were you taking these amateur fights, or did that happen after you finished in Kailua High School?
I actually graduated from Kalaheo High
Oh,
School.
Kalaheo,
Yeah,
Kalaheo. Okay.
yeah. I didn't make that clear.
No,
My
no, no.
dad wanted me to go to Kailua,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I went to Kalaheo along with my two other siblings,
Okay, okay.
my younger ones. But yeah, I wasn't I was competing in high school, but I wasn't fighting in the ring yet. But I was doing a lot of kickboxing competitions. But
Okay.
it's basically I count them because of the exact same rules, just not in a ring.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and then but yeah, I was fighting during right out of high school. I kind of went through a phase where I wasn't really focusing too much on my training, and I kind of just wanted to go out and like
Mm,
party and stuff more than anything. And so that was like a little phase of my life where I wasn't fighting as much. But yeah, sometimes I look back now and I'm like, I wish I could have stayed a little more focused during that time. But
mhm. Yeah,
I'm happy with my life, so I can't really complain.
yeah, yeah. So what's your total overall amateur record if you count the Taekwondo tournaments all the way till after high school doing amateur? What's the total record? I know you said
Oh,
you're pretty
guys, we would have to sit here and I don't
good.
know, look at photo albums, or I I would really have to go back in the archives to be able to answer that one
Okay.
with a good with an actual accurate answer. This I don't know, man.
Are you like close to 100 fights total?
uh, it could be close. It
Good.
could be
Okay.
close, but it's not. Uh, yeah, it could be pretty close.
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe
All
high
amateur,
80s,
high 80
maybe
amateur
high 80s.
fights.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So what is your current pro record then? And when was the day you decided to go from amateur to fighting pro? Like you said you only had 3 amateur MMA fights and you're like, okay, I'm going pro already. So when is that? Like how old were you when that happened?
Oh
And what
yeah, so yeah, I went pro when I was 25,
okay.
and so I had my first amateur MMA fight. I think I was 23 or 24.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 23. It was actually before my birthday. That's why. And then the very next year, I banged out 2 more amateur fights, and then
Mhm.
my coaches decided that it was time for me to turn pro. I was actually pretty nervous about it at the time.
Okay.
I remember,
Mhm.
but yeah, they said they're ready, and I've always just put the trust in my coaches to
Yeah.
make those types of decisions for me, and
Mhm.
it went pretty well for me most of the time.
Nice, nice. So when you turned pro, what was your record again? Pro?
Now I'm 5-8. Like I
I mean,
said, like when I got signed to the UFC, I was 8-2. So I've had some rough ones over here so far. So I'm on a little
uh,
skid. So my official professional MMA record is 8-5.
8-5, but it was 8-2 before the UFC. So in the UFC, actually, let's take us through like you training in home in Hawaii. Let's take us through you getting that call and saying, hey, here's your chance. You're gonna get a contract with the UFC. How was that like? What was that feeling, and what were you doing at the time when you got that call?
Yeah, I was coming off a big win. I got the URCC world title against an undefeated prospect, and I was able to finish him in the second round. And so the UFC, I knew they was kind of looking at me, and they had an event planned in China that was coming up. And what got me there was, of course, that being prepared to take an opportunity again, and my manager Jason is just the man. He's hands down the best manager in the game. It's not up for debate. And and yeah, so he was pushing for me to get onto the China fight, because they like to pull guys from a little closer, I
Mhm.
guess. Nothing's really close in Hawaii, but we're in the Pacific, so it's not as far as the mainland.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he was pushing for me, and when I got the call for that, I was working with a kickboxing class, and I remember I had to have someone take it over because I kept on getting the call and stuff. And yeah, it was pretty much one of the happiest days of my life
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
because
Nice.
because
Oh.
you work so hard, you work so hard for something, and all these sacrifices and years of dedication, it kind of all pays off when you get that call. The
Mhm.
call is what anyone who's been it's what anyone who's been working their butts off for in this sport, that call is like the best thing in the world.
Yeah. Nice, man. So, did you end up doing like a Dana White Contender Series, or you went straight into the China fight?
No, so I did the Dana White Contender Series was my second loss I ever
Okay.
took. It was before I fought for that URCC fight, before
Oh, okay. Okay.
before all this other stuff. Yeah. So I took the Dana White Contender Series fight in 2017. It
Mhm.
was on a 3-week notice. It was some interesting stuff leading up to that fight with the weight cut and everything like that.
Mhm.
And then so I ended up getting in there and mixing it up for 3 rounds and losing by a decision,
Mhm.
which a lot of people thought could
Yeah,
have gone.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're fighting China. That one was kind of iffy.
Oh yeah.
That was a
That
big
one was
time. That should have went
yeah,
your
that
way.
one,
Yeah.
yeah, that was robbed. That was
I know you were
respectfully.
fighting because I know you were fighting with Lewis as well, right? On the same card.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's messed up.
yeah, that I know.
It
There's nothing I
happened.
can do about it now.
Yep, it happens. It happens. So, let's go to where you're at right now. So, how did you? How does one like? I guess how does a fighter get a call about such a short notice? And what do they like give you in order to take that? Like because like you literally just knew about it on Friday, and then the next weekend you have to fight already. Like, do they give you some sort of allowance on the weight cut, or is it still same weight everything?
So what happened with this one is before this fight, I'm on a 3-fight losing streak. And so the
Mm-hmm.
UFC is like, okay, we're probably gonna release this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
But so my manager, again, the best
Yes.
manager out there, I've mentioned that. He got me he got me this fight, and he was just basically, Timur had an opponent pull out, and then so my manager Jason's like, hey, Martin just fought in November, got all of his medicals and everything good. Why don't you just have him step in? Not a lot of people are gonna want to step in on this particular guy last minute. He's a really top prospect.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of use that for me, as kind of like a second chance.
Yep.
So of course I'm gonna take it. It's a
Yes,
no brainer. I have to
yeah.
take it,
Mhm.
and so I'm happy with it, with the
Mhm.
opportunity, and now I can just go out there and fight like I have nothing to lose, because really I don't. Like
Yeah.
I can just go out there and just
Yeah.
let it all loose. And I usually fight at bantamweight at 135. We actually both do. Me and Timur was getting ready for a fight at 135, but being that I took this fight on such late notice, they
Mhm.
accepted it at 145.
Okay.
Because we
Yeah.
don't walk around too
Yeah.
close to the fight weight.
That's
Yeah,
what I was thinking. Okay. I was always
yeah,
curious
yeah.
about that for guys that just take fights like literally days or a week before. That's gonna be tough because no one walks around anywhere near that weight. So
Yeah, usually when guys take fights on such late notice, they usually do something with the weight, and
Mhm.
so they don't have to cut as much, because
Mhm.
sometimes it's just not going to be realistic. Like for me to cut from what I was walking around last week to 135 would have
Mhm.
been pretty close to impossible. But I mean, I
Yeah.
would have done it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
wouldn't have
Yeah.
been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go with here's another question. I guess like obviously the UFC is the biggest stage out there, right? And maybe that's maybe some sort of affects your games, your game plan, or maybe like you're confident going in, but then maybe when all those lights with the crowd and everything, like how does that feel when you're coming off like maybe fighting something like a small organization in Hawaii and then coming all the way to the UFC? Can you kind of explain how that makes you feel? Like, do you get nervous or are you excited? Like, what is the feeling of that?
For me, I remember going into my first fight, and my first UFC fight, and yeah, those I could see how that stuff could get to a lot of people, but
Mhm.
it was funny because on my first one I didn't feel any of that.
Nice.
I felt I felt in my first fight, I actually felt really composed, really calm. I could hear everything my corner men were saying, and yeah, I felt good that I felt really composed that fight. Just felt like another day in the Blaisdell. I actually felt more composed than a lot of those fights I had in the Blaisdell. So yeah, but I could see how the cameras all
Hmm.
in your face and like the crowd and the bigger arena and all that stuff. I could see how that could get to you, but I haven't really felt that. And then after that, my more recent fights were without a crowd, right?
Oh, okay. How was
So
that?
so yeah, so that's interesting too. But it's a different feel. It feels like a really hard sparring session with like Dana White watching you cage side. uh,
Uh,
yeah, so it's those have a different feel to it too. And then this fight will be like that, but as per my understanding, I think there's like a handful of spectators this fight, like
okay.
I guess some VIP people or something.
Mhm.
But
So,
yeah.
so in the Fight Island, the one that they did with Connor, was just a regular crowd?
Oh yeah, so I was actually there for that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi, yeah, I was cornering Tyson Nam, who had fought Wednesday, and then
Yep.
Connor fought on Saturday, and Max fought the week before. I was there for that too. But yeah, so they actually had a arena. They have a brand new arena in Abu
Mhm.
Dhabi that they made just for fights,
Okay.
and they made it fast because last time I was there in July, they didn't even have it yet. Those
Damn.
guys, they get stuff done over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they
Wow.
had an arena, and it wasn't super packed. It's big. It's huge. It's like it's big enough to be, there could be a crowd in there, but
Mhm.
because of social distancing and everything, a lot of the seats were not available.
Mhm.
But there was a crowd, and it had that arena feel, so that was cool to be back in an arena again.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Cool. But this fight is only a handful of spectators, but nothing like thousands though. Nothing like that.
Oh no, 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 just
Okay.
really just a handful. Maybe
Like
maybe
family.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, not family. So no families
Wow.
allowed to watch or anything like that.
Wow.
It's I had heard that Dana White is doing like some kind of fan VIP experiences. People can win stuff like
Wow.
that. So I would imagine maybe a couple dozen people
Yeah,
tops.
yeah, yeah. Okay. And you're the same amount of coaches get to go with you as usual.
Yeah, yep, yep. All
Practice.
that's the same. Coaching me down here with me is my coaches Charles Kipuli, Rylan Lazarus, and
Mhm.
we got Loan Tainas with me too.
Nice.
And on fight night, it'll be Rylan and Loan in my corner.
Okay. Nice, man. Sounds good. So do you have anything else you want to share about maybe the UFC experience that maybe people that want to get to the UFC need to prepare for, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. So I teach kids. I
Okay.
teach a lot of kids, right? Taekwondo,
Hmm.
it's my thing, and kickboxing. But I always tell the kids like all kids that they think about is like I want to be a black belt. I want to be a black belt. And then so I'm always like telling them it's not about it's not about that. It's about what you're doing now. Like so if you want to be a black belt one day, what are you doing now that black belts do? You know what I mean? I say like, maybe you can like there's certain things that takes no talent, like being on time, being teachable, having a good attitude, giving 100% effort. So I always tell it to them, and the reason I talk about this is because thing about fighters is like I've actually heard people say like, oh, when I get into a big show, then I'll start dieting and cut more weight, or when I get an opportunity to fight in a big show, then I'll start going to more jujitsu classes. There's a lot of people in Hawaii, like a lot of people that just like to stand up, or the opposite, and so, like, what I always tell guys that are coming up, people that are coming up, is you got to do whatever, you got to start acting like you're in the UFC now, today. What would I do right now if this was my job? You know what I mean? And yeah, it's going to take sacrifice. Yeah, you're going to lose time with your friends. You're going to lose time with your family. You're going to lose out on special events. But that's all the sacrifice that it takes to get there. There's
Hmm.
going to be a lot of things you're not going to be able to attend. There's going to be a lot of trips you're not going to be able to go on.
Hmm.
But that's what it takes. The price for victory is dedication, it's sacrifice, it's hard work, it's long nights, long days and short nights. Sometimes if you're talking about sleep, you're not going to get as much of that.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's just like the sacrifice. You're gonna have to sacrifice. So that's the main thing I would say. And yeah, just to all the little kids and stuff, all that they're trying to make it. It's also about who you're surrounding yourself with too. Like I said, I went through a little phase right out of high school course, when you just want to like party and go out, you're hanging out with the wrong kind of people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, you're not going to be able to do much with that kind of crowd you're hanging around with. So when I started being around like more fighters, like when I went to, Grace Technics and Koi Elite, I was around guys like Max Holloway and Yancey and Russell Doan and guys like that. Of course, your level's gonna raise. You know what I mean? So you can't really hang out with the wrong crowd and expect to get the right results. You gotta go around people that's gonna push you like that, not just push you randomly, but push you in the direction we're all going in the same direction. You know what I mean?
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So that's those two things right there.
Yeah, that's priceless, bro. That's gold. Everyone listening right now, pay attention to that. Rewind it, listen to it again. Those are two key factors in making it to the top level of pretty much any industry, right? Any industry that you're in, whether it's business, sports, music, doing those two steps exactly like you said is probably going to get you to that higher level. So thanks for sharing that. That's priceless information. I hope everyone out there replays that over and over. Seriously, that's great information. Okay, man, that's pretty much all the questions I had. I appreciate your time. Maybe can you share your Instagram or maybe some your website for merchandise or anything like that that you have?
Yeah, I don't have any merchandise website. I just whenever I have fight shirts, they're available at Defend Hawaii. Defend Hawaii is
Okay,
my main clothing sponsor.
nice.
And my Instagram is 34Spartan.
Mhm.
My Twitter is Martin Day underscore. I think I'm pretty sure. I don't go on Twitter a lot,
Go check that
but
out.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Martin Day underscore. And yeah, guys, right on.
Cool. Yep.
Thanks for
Okay,
having me
well,
on, bro. And
yeah.
tune in on Saturday.
Thank you, man. Hey, good luck in your fight, man. I'll be watching. Everybody will be following it. Thank you for your time again, man. I appreciate it.
All right, my
All
man.
right,
Thank
bro.
you, bro.
Okay, man. All right. Peace.